Welcome back to the KickNPost YouTube channel. It's your host, Amal Thompson. We've ranked 2 of the KickNPost Dynasty rosters so far. We're hopping into our 3rd ranking for the team, the Trade Calculators. Awesome name, by the way. Nick, you're up. Let's get to it. So we hop right into this roster with the starting quarterback on the Superflex Dynasty team, Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I have him rated at a 10. I know the disrespect has kind of gone far on this prospect. When it comes to fantasy, there's not much that you need to see from a guy like Lamar Jackson. Still a dual threat option. If we look at off-season pictures of the guy, he put on a lot of weight. Unfortunately for us, hoping him to be a better passer, I don't see how putting on muscle mass really helps with that. But for us fantasy fans, him getting into that type of shape makes me think we're going back to running the ball a lot with Lamar. He's still one of the best athletes in the league. Cheat code at quarterback. Somebody of his type of athleticism with the ball in his hand every play. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times. So to have that as a starting quarterback, we're going to ride with that every time. Starting running back, Derrick Henry. Have him at an 8. Now, Derrick Henry's production will be, in my opinion, solid for this year, but the issue with owning a running back like Derrick Henry is he's on the tail end of that running back scale when it comes to age. His usage the last few years has been super high, tons of carries. And in terms of selling point and value, this is not his peak. We're already seeing the decline in what people will offer to acquire Derrick Henry and what you'll be able to get in return. So it's not so much Derrick Henry is not a level 10 productive type player in fantasy. It's when we value everything and put everything into perspective, I have to have the boy at an 8. And then one of another controversial rating that I have for this roster is J.K. Dobbins. Coming into this video, I was planning to record it yesterday, but news has dropped. They've signed Corey Clement. J.K. Dobbins is starting the offseason on the PUP list. There was reports saying he wouldn't be ready for week 1. And even if we're believers in J.K. Dobbins' health, we can't argue the fact of, okay, he's going to go from possibly not being ready for week 1 to being a workhorse running back in this offense. Now, the positive is, with how run-heavy this offense is, even a 50% share of the backfield will be a very productive take in fantasy. Right, but we were hoping possibly for a full workload, at least 65 to 70% of the touches out of the backfield. And right now, I feel like it's just going to be a committee. Gus looks like he might not be healthy for week 1 either. Corey Clement, Mike Davis, if they really get ahead of their game and lock in and kind of learn the offense, it might be a 4-headed monster come week 2 or 3. So I have J.K. Dobbins ranked at a 7, but as the price continues to lower on him in starters, especially dynasty starters, I'd be scooping up the dip on his value all day. If he slips past the 6th round, I'm taking all J.K. Dobbins. I have no issue taking the dip on a player of that magnitude. Hopping into wide receiver, we got Treylon Burks. I have him currently ranked at a 7. A lot of that is the rookie optimism that we like to show in dynasty. More than anything, you'll be able to trade him with no real prove it yet to it. Everything's lining up for this wide receiver. Vacated targets. We got, well, I was about to go deeper, but the real talk is vacated targets. He's in a run-heavy offense, so that does not really lean to him being a very productive wide receiver in terms of targets. But if anything, he should be used to this type of offense. He played in Arkansas, which was very run-heavy as well, and they used him as a yak ability type of wide receiver over there also. Obviously, first practice in the NFL, we all heard the news. He had to leave early because of issues. But when we come down to it all, just based on where they drafted in terms of draft capital, them getting rid of A.J. Brown, it's kind of wheels up for Treylon Burks. So we'll take him at a 7. Moving on to the next wide receiver, we have Michael Thomas. I currently have him ranked at a 6. We have not seen Michael Thomas on the field since week 14 of 2020. We've seen Michael Thomas put up top 10 finishes in 3 straight years, and now we haven't seen him on the field for about a year and a half. Comes into the offseason on the PUP list, which is also concerning, seeing that he already missed all of last year with injury. We're hoping for better days. Healthy, if he could get back to that top 4, top 5 type of receiver production, which I don't think is possible. We're probably looking at top 15. Then based on where he was taken, which I think was the 10th round in this league, there's great value. But all the news coming out, the fact that they're adding more weapons to that offense, the fact that he hasn't been healthy, it gives me reason to pause. So I currently have Michael Thomas at a 6. Moving into the tight end situation, we have George Kittle ranked at an 8. As I said before, it's a position that's very watered down. I have concerns about his health a little bit. He also hasn't played a full season of healthy games since 2018. He's missed games every year. And even with missing games, he still finishes as a top 5 tight end, which kind of shows you how watered the position is. Last year, missed 3 games, still finishes a top 5 tight end. But I believe an offense that's going to be a lot more run heavy with Trey Lance under center. An offense that's sneakily run heavy before that as well. I don't think there's going to be enough targets to supplement Kittle being high volume tight end, to supplement Ayuk getting targets, to supplement Debo getting targets, to supplement running backs getting targets out of the backfield. I just don't think there's enough volume to go around for all these guys, especially with Trey Lance, who we know is going to take up to 10 to 12 carries a game. That's what his style was last year. So for an offense that I feel like is going to be adjusting to Trey Lance, unless the touchdown production is super high for Kittle, I don't see him really returning investment, even though you're getting him in the 3rd round of startups. I'm still a fan of the player himself. I still think a very fair evaluation of a player, 8. Carries name value, so you can still trade him at a decent price. And if you're looking to acquire him, he is a little bit cheaper. I think he'll produce a little bit better than where you'll be able to acquire him price-wise. Have Kareem Hunt at a 7. And this is a little bit of a homer rating, because I feel like by the end of the season, I know it's a little bit of a conspiracy time from your boy, but I feel like by the end of the season, Kareem Hunt will be an RB1 on a different team. I don't see the Browns holding on to him, even though it's a very affordable contract for them. I feel like they'll get offered something that they'll be willing to part ways with Kareem Hunt, seeing that they have a solid backup in Dearness Johnson also on that roster. If Dearness Johnson makes it through camp and a team comes knocking on the door mid to late season looking for a running back, I feel like Kareem Hunt could get moved. I think he is a free agent this year, if I'm not mistaken. Something to look into. So this 7 is with potential of him possibly getting moved. I know we're not supposed to project these things in fantasy, but I had to give you guys my little homer pick right there. Devontae Smith an 8. Young wide receiver. Breakout. Early. Love his talent. Early draft capital. We'll have a 5th-year option on Devontae Smith, but he's in a run-heavy offense that added another target hog in A.J. Brown, so the targets are going to come down. I do believe the targets get more valuable. I do believe the targets get more efficient, but never in a situation where the game wasn't pass-heavy as it is, and you add another receiver that's going to eat into your target share, is it a positive? But based on age and where you could acquire him, I still have him as an 8 in my rankings, because you'll be able to acquire a very talented young wide receiver way past where he would be going without the A.J. Brown acquisition. And I feel like, again, his targets will go down, but the efficiency goes up. So you'll see a little bit of benefit in red zone targets, see a little bit of benefit in valuable depth targets. I feel like his depth of target will go up as well. So I'm good with rating Devontae Smith as an 8 in this ranking system. Davis Mills, have him at a 7. Starting quarterback for Houston on a very short leash, but he is the starting quarterback for Houston. They drafted nobody to be his competition. They've added nobody in free agency. Yes, the weapons are kind of in shambles. Yes, the team is kind of in shambles. But if you have a starting quarterback in a Superflex league, the minimum you could get from me is a 7. Unless I'm kind of talking smack about myself. I feel like I have given Matt Ryan lower than that, but I digress. We're giving Davis Mills a 7. Hopping into the next quarterback, Carolina Panthers, possibly 2nd string, possibly 3rd string, possibly starter, Sam Darnold. I have him at a 5. We don't know what's happening out there in Carolina. They acquired Baker Mayfield recently. They drafted Matt Corral, I think, in the 4th round. Sam Darnold is clearly not their guy, and he has 2 guys to compete with. So unless he starts, his rating is going to hover around a 5. And the further he drops down the depth chart, it's possibly his ratings will drop as well. Hopping into the next rating, Tyler Huntley. I was a little bit gracious on this one, seeing that Nick does have Lamar Jackson. He drafted Tyler Huntley. I gave Tyler Huntley a 3. In reality, Tyler Huntley is really waiver wire material. But if you have Lamar and you back up Lamar with his great value version of himself, I'm going to give you a little bit of extra points because you protected your investment. So we'll keep Tyler Huntley at a 3. Not much to talk about there. If Lamar goes down, a very valuable asset that you don't have to go acquire. So smart move from Nick. We got Mike Davis and Gus Edwards. So I have Mike Davis at a 2 and Gus Edwards as a 5. I am moving Gus Edwards back to a 4. I'm moving Mike Davis up to a 3. So the scale won't really change. We're just giving him a little bit more value. Mike Davis is going to start week 1 for the Ravens. If there was somewhere to bet on that, I would bet on that. I feel like Mike Davis is going to be the starting running back for the Baltimore Ravens week 1. Gus and Dobbins have to get themselves right. So we'll see what Mike Davis has in that backfield. I feel like it'll be a very Devontae Freeman-like performance. But this is Nick protecting his assets again. He took J.K. Dobbins, made sure to take the handcuff. Made sure to take the handcuff after the handcuff. Only person he's missing right now is Corey Clement, which I'm pretty sure he might be working to get on waivers if he hasn't been acquired already. In doing that, though, you lose the opportunity to take guys who could have value. In terms of winning your league, this might be a better move. In terms of Dynasty, you're protecting yourself from having to pay a high price to acquire your handcuffs if your starter goes down or doesn't show up. But in the grand scheme of things, these guys don't really hold value by themselves. Gus Edwards more than Mike Davis, obviously, but that's where we're at with that one. And speaking of handcuffs, he also drafted Chuba Hubbard, which I have rated at a 5. The name value and what he was for Carolina last year, he was the number 2 when Christian McCaffrey went down. A lot of people believe Christian McCaffrey has issues with injuries. Owning the backup is super valuable, especially in Dynasty. You'll be able to move Chuba Hubbard for, at minimum, a second-round rookie pick, potentially a first-round rookie pick if the owner of McCaffrey loses McCaffrey and he feels like he's in the running to compete. So I understand taking the backup in this case. Chuba does hold quite a bit of value as the potential starting back for Carolina if CMC was to go down. Me personally, I'm still a fan of Deontay Foreman, but I gotta be transparent. Chuba is probably gonna get a little bit more love from the coaching staff, so I have Chuba at a 5 as a very valuable backup. I have DeAndre Hopkins as a 6. We're gonna be 6 games without D-Hop, aging wide receiver in a very high-paced offense. They added Marquise Brown, expecting a breakout from Rondale Moore this year. Zach Ertz is going to eat into targets. They drafted a tight end, I think, second round, Trey McBride. There's a lot of targets competition in Arizona, and coming and being 6 weeks behind the 8 ball does not benefit a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. Now, if he comes back healthy, I think he'll be very productive, and you might be able to sell based on a good performance. But I don't see him ever getting back into the likes of a 8 or 9 or 10 in my rankings. Highest I see him getting to is a 7, and that's if he's come back and is somewhat productive. He'll produce for your team possibly, but in terms of value, he's kind of lost the plot where that's concerned. Got KJ Osborne at a 4, Minnesota wide receiver 3. Supposed to be a heightened pass offense. Their new coach is really big on passing. There's been reports that even Dalvin Cook's going to be getting more targets a game. So if there's more targets to go around, that's good for KJ Osborne. The only issue is he's still the wide receiver 3 out there. So until he's able to ascend up the depth chart, we're not going to put all our eggs in the basket on a wide receiver 3 on a roster, not even wide receiver 3 in fantasy. So I'll put him at a 4, but obviously Adam Thielen being a little bit older, could suffer injury. You know, if injuries happen, he'll be a very valuable asset to a Minnesota team that's going to be passing the ball a lot this year. Julio, again, if I had recorded this video yesterday, Julio would be a 2 to 3 on my rankings. As of recording, Julio has signed a 1-year deal with the Buccaneers. I feel like it's more of a ring chase it deal. He joined an offense that he's not going to be the focal point. There was Green Bay where he could have been the focal point. Possibly the Browns, if you wanted to go out there, it would be him and Amari Cooper. There was a lot of other situations where he would be locked into more targets, but he joins a wide receiver group that has Mike Evans coming out the gate, Russell Gage, who just got added for, I think, a little bit more money. we're expecting Chris Godwin to possibly make a full recovery within the first 6 weeks of the season. I don't know how many 3 wide receiver sets the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run, but as soon as Chris Godwin gets himself healthy, I feel like, unfortunately, Julio will regress and end up with kind of like a second unit type play. So for fantasy, I'm selling high on the news. If anybody wants Julio, I'm trying to move Julio for a good price right now while he does have a team attached to his name. Yes, he's playing with the GOAT, but I'm not really buying into the hype. I feel like we've kind of lost the Julio that a lot of people attach to fantasy. So I'm giving him a 4. Yes, that's a slight bump. I'm going to have to wait and see on that. It's quite potential that he proves me wrong. But as of recording this right now, I'm not the biggest Julio fan in fantasy at all. Still love him as a player, but not the biggest fan for fantasy. And then coming off of Julio, we're going to stay on the Buccaneers. Nick made sure to go out and get every possible tight end option that is not Cade Otton for the Buccaneers. He has Gronk. He has Rudolph. He has Cameron Brate. Gronk's retired. I have Gronk at a 2. I feel like Gronk deciding that he retired, unless he's really trying to skip OTAs, it doesn't serve you any good to have that player on your roster. If he does come back and they use him in a similar fashion, of course his ranking will go up. But as of currently speaking, and in my belief, I do not think Gronk is coming back. So I have him at a 2. I have Brate at a 2 as well. He's had the opportunity to break out. Gronk injury last year. He's had the snaps with Brady, and we still haven't really seen Cameron Brate be a week-to-week flyer, especially in DFS settings. So I'm not really going to get excited about Cameron Brate. And then we have Kyle Rudolph, which I know he's been blowing up on the waiver wires lately. There's even beat reporters coming out saying that he's supposed to play the Gronk role for this team. But unfortunately, he's not the Gronk level of talent. So it doesn't matter what role you put Rudolph in, he's not going to be Gronk. So I have him ranked at a 3 because he'll possibly be starting. But out of all the tight ends on the Buccaneers roster, I'm still the biggest fan of Cade Otton, the rookie coming out of Washington, if I'm not mistaken. I'm all good where that's concerned. I'll rock with Cade Otton 100% on that one. So where that's concerned, a lot of depth plays again, trying to cover his bases and possibly get one of Brady's more favorite targets in the red zone. But I'm not a fan of any of the 3. This is a taxi squad that does have a lot of talent, right? In the previous videos, taxi squads have hovered around a 5 for me, I think. Low name value, low draft capital. But this taxi squad has Chris Olave on it, which immediately skyrockets it to a 7. Chris Olave by himself could have possibly gotten this taxi squad to a 7. It also has Terrace Marshall, who I'm a fan of. But let's dive into Chris Olave a little bit more. I feel like with the news of Michael Thomas coming into the offseason on the PUP list, Chris Olave is probably going to get a lot of snaps in a lot of places on the field and is going to be able to develop a lot of rapport with a guy like Jameis Winston. I think that'll be very beneficial to the rookie. Also, he is the most talented wide receiver probably in that wide receiver room right now, bar Jarvis Landry, who's on the back end of his career. I'm a Jarvis Landry fan. I've been acquiring him a lot in drafts as well later. And with the, again, uncertainty with Michael Thomas, I'm all about having Jarvis Landry as a depth piece on your roster currently. So this taxi squad demands a 7. Rookie picks, again, higher than most. He was able to acquire an extra second-round pick in a trade that he did. DeAndre Hopkins did not start on this roster. Nick did make a deal with Chris, if I'm not mistaken, that allowed him to acquire DeAndre Hopkins, although the trade up on the screen right here and the values attached. But to have that second pick in the 2023 rookie picks, that's a big deal. It's a high-value draft. It's a high-value name draft, I should say. We really don't know what the players are going to be yet. But based on all the projections, this is looking to be one of the bigger drafts, especially for fantasy. So to be able to pair up 2 of those second-round picks, possibly move it for a first, or get some value in that second round, seeing that this is super flex, I'm going to have to give his rookie picks value an 8. That does it for me ranking Nick's roster. This is his overall ranking for the roster. This is where he ranks on the scale. If I'm not mistaken, he'll be the 3rd place team on this list. I think Matt will still be leading the pack with the highest ADR rating. I'd like to thank you guys for all the support on the videos lately. We're up to 84 subscribers. I know we're not supposed to really number count, but 84 subscribers is big for this channel. Thank you guys for all the support. We're going back up on the Kick and Post podcast as well. Posted a podcast recently with Matt Avila talking about the rating of his team, how he drafted. This was the first Dynasty draft that he's ever done. So again, thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.